Happy new moon in Gemini. The new moon of Gemini perfects Thursday, June 6th at 5:37 a.m. Pacific time. So adjust for your time zone accordingly. This new moon is conjunct Venus, the goddess of love and beauty. She's at the heart of this new moon in exact alignment with the sun and the moon. And so this is a powerful new start for all things Venusian. Venus, the goddess of love and beauty, art, style, attraction, women, sisters, and she's in Gemini. So this is all about a new way of thinking or speaking or writing about these Venusian topics. Hello, I'm Eliane Nicole, your astrologer and tarot reader, and in this video I'm going to talk about the new moon of Gemini cycle, which will take us from Thursday, June 6th all the way to July 5th. As you know, if you follow my astrology, the ingress chart of the new moon summarizes the whole lunar cycle, and that's why it's really great to get an understanding of the new moon chart. And again, this new moon has Venus at the heart of it in direct alignment with the luminaries, and so this is bringing a new start to the way we think about relationships, art, beauty, style. This is very much, Gemini rules things like children, how we listen, how we learn, how we speak, our words, our ideas. So this new moon is planting new ideas around relationships, around socializing. There's a party in the sky in Gemini right now. Jupiter just entered Gemini. So there's a very distinct difference between the first 5 months of the year and going forward until the end of the year. Jupiter, the great benefic, is also in Gemini. So that's really magnifying all of the ideas and thoughts and conversations that are happening around this new moon. This is a very social period. There's a lot of, socializing, network, talking, writing, conversations, emails, texts. I mean, this is really kind of the busiest time of the entire year in terms of social activity. And communication is big. Communication is a really big theme over this next cycle, and it's communication around Venusian topics, communication around relationships, around romance, around attraction, but also around beauty and art and justice and siblings, women, sisters. All of these topics are up for big discussion at this time. And we may be changing our values around this topic. Gemini is the mutable yang temple of Mercury, and Mercury has just entered Gemini too, right before this new moon. So the ruler of the moon, the sun, and Venus, who are at the center of this cycle, Mercury, he's at home. And so another element of this new moon is that it's squaring Saturn. It's coming up on the exact square of Saturn on Saturday, but it's in an application from the moment that the new moon perfects at 5:37 a.m. Pacific time. And the square to Saturn is an interesting, kind of opposing energy almost. It's a square, and so there's an action of some kind that Saturn is requiring Venus, the sun, and the moon to take, and so Saturn is showing us our limitations in these topics, showing us where we need to slow down, showing us where we need to be cautious. There may be an important choice that needs to be made around Venusian issues. And Saturn is wanting emotional maturity, in some cases emotional boundaries, in other cases In some cases, you know, it's like there's a sobering decision that needs to be made. There's a sobering limit that needs to be adhered to. Saturn brings tests and challenges, and in Pisces, you know, these are the challenges that come around, you know, our emotions. And with Gemini versus Pisces, it's a lot about the mind versus the heart. You know, all the logic, all the reasoning, all the ideas and conversations. But Saturn is in Pisces, and Pisces is a very spiritual energy. In some cases, it's a religious energy, you know, it may be a challenge, a conflict of the heart versus the mind, where a decision needs to be made. And Saturn is kind of the serious, tough love, big boss coming in and requiring us to be honest about our feelings, honest about what's on our heart, and to communicate this so that we can develop deeper intimacy sometimes in our relationships in some cases. Again, depending on where it is in your chart is how it might manifest for you. And it's really going to be personal for people who have any personal planets at 16 degrees to 18 degrees. It's really bringing together Gemini and Pisces in our charts. You know, for Libras and Aquarius, all of this Gemini energy is going to be forming a trine, and for Venus and Taurus, they're very ruled by Venus, and so it's going to be more personal to people who have strong Libra and Taurus energy. And of course, to people who have strong Gemini energy, it's going to be very personal. For people who have a lot of Sagittarius energy, there's going to be a lot of opposition in these topics of, you know, love or beauty or art or attraction or justice. For people, you know, the mutable axis is really being triggered here, stimulated might be a better word. So the mutable axis is Gemini, Pisces, Virgo, and Sagittarius. And it's a more challenging energy for this axis. You know, it's requiring choices to be made, you know, choices that have serious, far-reaching consequences. Choices around love, around beauty, around style, around art, around money, around justice. For Libra, you know, okay, so I won't go too much into Libra. I mean, I think Libra and Aquarius are probably going to be uplifted by this energy the most. But, you know, this Venus, who's in the heart of this new moon, you know, she's just coming off a square with Pluto. So she's transforming, and Venus has been on an underworld journey, and she's still on the underworld journey, but she's starting to recover. She's still under the beams of the sun right now. She's starting to recover. She's slowly going to be regaining strength and power, and gradually she'll be emerging as the evening star. You know, depending on where you are in the world, it's happening at different times. And I will definitely be doing a video on Venus emerging as the evening star, because no one is looking forward to that more than I am, with this Venus Cazimi with the sun and the moon trining my own natal sun, and I'm very Venus ruled. So, but yeah, Venus has had to face her fears as of late. She's had to, you know, face some grief, some fears, some challenges, and she is getting over the hump and regaining strength and power gradually from the point of this new moon and through this whole lunar cycle. What else did I want to say about this? I don't want to do too long of a video. I do want to say that if you're following this on YouTube, please subscribe to my channel. Please hit the notification button so that you're notified every time I post a new video. Please leave a comment. Help me out in the algorithm. If you're watching this on Instagram, please make sure that you're following astrology.tarot.Eliane Nicole. Please leave a comment. But what do I want to say about Venus? Yeah, during this new moon cycle, it's like we're learning a lot about love, about children, about how to communicate, how to choose our words. It's about writing. It's, you know, starting a new writing project is really great under this new moon. It's a great writer's new moon for sure. And, you know, the tension between Venus and Saturn, I think, can be really beautiful for artists too. I mean, I think it can be very beautiful challenge for songwriting, for film writing. You know, Pisces is images and music, and Venus is in Gemini, ruled by Mercury, the writer, the thinker. And so these challenges are, I think, just beautiful for creative people and for artists. They can be emotionally challenging, but there's a lot of richness that can come from that. And even for relationships, you know, and romance, it's like we are leveling up in our emotional maturity. And, you know, I think that, you know, the Gemini energy is very playful and flirtatious and wants to have fun and wants to flit about and socialize. And the Pisces and Saturn is more like it's serious. It's time for commitment. It's time to make a choice. It's time to, you know, sober up. It's time to get real. And so those energies are at play in this cycle. You know, Saturn is teaching us where our limits are, where our boundaries are. And, you know, Saturn and Pisces through this whole journey, the 2.5 years from March 2023, when he entered, all the way through 2026, is constantly strumming the chord of emotional maturity and emotional boundaries. And Saturn brings tests and challenges in those areas, wanting us to grow up, wanting us to mature into this next stage of our lives. And so I think it's a beautiful full new moon. New moons are seeding points. We're planting the seeds of intention that, you know, we want to carry us through the lunar cycle and, you know, the entire year in some cases. And with Saturn involved, sometimes we're looking at 28-year cycles, you know. So it's powerful, again, in all things Venusian, you know, women, sisters, art, beauty, love, style. We're going to be seeing a lot of newness, new relationships, new love interests, new ways of dressing or wearing our hair, or new adornments, new jewelry. These are all Venusian things. You know, new writing projects, new creativity, new children, new values around these topics, new ways of thinking about these topics or communicating about these topics. It's a great time for a reading. As I said, the energy of this next half of the year is a real big shift from the first half, because Jupiter, who spends a year in an entire year in a sign, has just come out of a year-long journey in Taurus and has just began this year in Gemini. And so he's magnifying the topics of siblings, of learning, of how we think and how we listen and how we learn. And, you know, there's a lot about morality and spirituality and, you know, we're expanding our minds in these areas right now. And all of that is really reflected in this lunar cycle, which again takes us from June 6th, Thursday, June 6th at 5:37 a.m. all the way to July 5th. So just after the 4th of July, this energy is carrying us, because again, the ingress chart of the new moon summarizes the entire lunar cycle. And we have Mars still in Aries. He's in the last degrees of Aries, you know, god of war, and he'll be switching into Taurus soon. And the last time that Mars entered Taurus, the day he switched from Aries, 29 Aries to 0 Taurus, was the insurrection. And so I think that that's going to be something really, an important point to watch in this cycle as it relates to politics and things like that. And this is a big media cycle. There's going to be, you know, Gemini rules the media for the collective, rules journalists and writers. And so there's a lot of writing about the Venusian topics, but also the limitations and the tests being brought by the Saturn and Pisces topics. And so I'm going to wrap it up here because I've been talking for 15 minutes, but I encourage you to call me for a reading, contact me for a reading, email me to get on the schedule. My email address is down in the notes in YouTube, and if you're watching on Instagram, you can go to my profile bio, hit the contact button, and email me to get on the books. But yeah, this is a very beautiful cycle with a lot of choices that are important to the heart. Yeah, I would love to read for you. Reading one-on-one with clients is always my favorite thing to do, and how I think you get the most out of astrology. But I love to do these free astrological offerings because I feel like everyone who wants access to astrological knowledge should have it. And I'm going to pick a little card before I go and see what the cards want to say. But please, yes, do help me in the algorithm. Please leave a comment. Please like. Please follow. And the tarot are going to add to the new Moon of Gemini reading. The King of Swords. You know, this is a man with an important decision to make around love, beauty, art, romance, style, Venusian topics. This is an honest man, and he is somehow opening his mind and learning in this cycle and making an important choice. So thank you for joining me. And what else do I want to say? This is about power and influence as well. So thank you for joining me. Happy new Moon of Gemini. See you soon.